Hey everybody, this is Pierre Quinn and you're listening to episode number 57 of the Leading While Green podcast, where my mission is to help you live, learn, and lead with confidence. On this episode of the podcast, my guest is the owner and founder of Career Pathways Consulting, Barbara Mason. We talk about some keys to finding a job, to transitioning in your career, and why you need a career assessment. You might want to pay attention to this conversation. So, listen up. So just got a quick question as we start this episode. Want to know if you are on my leaders list. Are you getting my emails? Are you getting my messages? Are they helping you at all? Okay. First thing, are you on the list? If you're not on my leaders list, my mailing list, hop over to my website, prcquinn.com, and just hang out for like 3 seconds, maybe 4, half a scroll, and the pop-up will show up, and just enter your email address and you'll be on my leaders list, and you'll start getting a lot of good stuff from me. Now, the people who are on my leaders list will be the first to know when my Leading While Green online leadership course will drop. That's right. I'm getting ready to launch this thing, and I want you to know about it first. So make sure you're on my leaders list. It's a course for emerging leaders. We do some leadership one-on-one stuff. We get you some practical, actionable stuff to help you grow as a leader and increase your influence. And I want you to be a part of that journey and to know when that course is available. Okay, my conversation today is with Barbara Mason, the owner and founder of Career Pathways Consulting. She has 18 years of human resource experience across a variety of industries, and she knows her stuff. And this is a great conversation if you know someone who's looking for a job, looking to transition, or has no idea what they want to do. Hey everybody, this is Pierre Quinn, and you're listening to another episode of the Leading While Green podcast, where my mission is to help you live, learn, and lead with confidence. On this episode of the podcast, I am joined by Barbara Mason, the owner and founder of Career Pathways Consulting. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be here.
Glad you are here with us. Okay, Career Pathways Consulting. You got all this experience with human resources. How did you know that it was time to start your own company?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, I started my company. It's been over just almost a year ago. And after doing HR for 20 years, I've had so many encounters and experiences with individuals and leaders that are always looking for some career guidance, solutions, help, and people just in the wrong career. And so as I thought about the second half of my career and what I really wanted my legacy to be and what I wanted to do for me, I thought it would be great and beneficial to start my own company so that I could help at a bigger and greater level. So that's really the reason why I started it, because I'm on the second half of my career journey now.
So let's back up. Let's back up a little bit and talk about how did you know that working in the field of HR, and really HR is about person development, getting people up to the speed so they can work at their optimal level for the organization. How did you know that HR was going to be your area?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So to be honest, I started off in computer science, which is completely different than HR. But I had one of those moments early in my college experience where I knew that computer science was not for me. Even though I could do it, it was not what I should do. And so I took some HR classes and fell in love with it. And just as life has happened on, HR is a great fit because it gives me a chance to do one of the things that I'm really good at, which is being able to see into other people and see their potential and be able to kind of inspire and motivate them to be the best version of themselves possible. And then HR is so varied. I've had a chance to do so many different things in HR around people, but in many different facets. So that's kind of how I ended up in the HR field. And it's been a great fit for me.
Let's give people a little bit of the scope. So you've worked in HR for a pretty sizable company. What's that experience like at that level of human resources administration and leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in HR for the last 20 years. I've worked in several different industries, energy, education, telecommunications, retail, distribution, and been in leadership for the last 15 years, and recently at an executive level. It has its wins definitely to be at that level because you get a chance to have a bigger scope and a bigger impact. But I will tell you, I wouldn't trade any of my experiences even before I got into executive leadership because it's kind of been the foundation for my business, my thought process, and how I deal with people today. I've learned a lot in that 20-year span.
So you mentioned earlier just having to deal people, and you used the phrase wrong career. Sometimes individuals are in the wrong career. Define that for me, and how, as an HR professional, how can you tell if an individual is in the wrong career?
Yeah, absolutely. So the wrong career, I would define it as when you're not in a place or in a job or profession that's utilizing the best version of you. And that means your skills and your talents and your abilities. And I have a very simple philosophy that your career should match you in 4 different areas. It should match you in your personality, your skills, the things that you're really, really good at, the things that you're interested in, and your values. And when those 4 things are not present in your job, you are in the wrong career. Now, how I've been able to determine that in my time span in HR, people that I encounter that come into my office that are having a hard time performing in the job that they're in, or people not motivated to come to work, or their work drains them instead of giving them energy. There's so many different signs of people that are unhappy or in the wrong career. And believe it or not, 60% of people go to work every day in a job they do not like, and it's not the right fit for them, which is a huge percentage of the population.
So ultimately, what then is the long-term impact, not just for the individual, not just for the organization, but also for the individual, the longer they stay in a space that doesn't fit their personality, their skills, their interests, or their values?
Yeah, it affects everything and everyone around them. So it affects their relationships, whether they're married or with their kids. It affects them emotionally because, again, they're not motivated. I've seen people depressed. I've seen them under stress. It also starts to eat away at your self-confidence because when you're in the wrong fit, it's trying to put a square into a circle. It just doesn't fit. And so people start to erode away on the inside and feel like they can't do anything just because they're not good at what they're doing today and how they're receiving their paycheck.
Well, let's talk a little bit about career transitions and then come back to entering the workforce. What if you're listening to this podcast episode and you say, well, maybe I'm 40 years old, I've worked in a field my entire life. I have the degree, but I don't like my job. I don't like the industry anymore, but I feel like it's too late. I don't want to start over, but I see that I'm not, like, everybody knows that I don't want to be here and it's negatively impacting my work and my home life. But I feel like it's too late to transition in my career and start over. What would you say to an individual like that?
Yeah, my philosophy is that it's never too late. So let me just put that out there, number one. And then also what I coach my clients on is, first of all, know why you don't like what you're doing. So many people come to me and they don't like what they're doing and they just know they want to do something different. But you first have to identify what it is about that job, that environment, that is not the right fit. Otherwise, you'll make the same mistake. So that's number one. Number two is to have a transition plan. And that entails looking at what I call your transferable skills. So what are the things that you've already been doing or the experiences that you have had that can transfer over into another career? And then the third piece is making sure that you link up with a career coach and do a career assessment. That it sounds so foundational, but it is foundational. You have to figure out what is the right fit for you, going back to those 4 areas that I talked about. Otherwise, you're shooting in the dark. And you use what I call faulty foundations to pick and choose the career that you're going to be in. So 1, it's never too late. 2, make sure that you know why you don't like what you're doing. 3, get a career coach, do a career assessment. And 4, have a plan.
Well, walk us through a little bit about the clarity that having a career assessment provides. I know some of us listening to this podcast have never even heard of the idea of a career assessment. We just kind of picked a major in college. We kind of stuck there in different companies. But what's a career assessment, and why should people have one?
Yeah, absolutely. So a career assessment is a tool, and there's several of them out there, but it's basically a tool to discover who you are. And so it's the gift of self-awareness, which is one of the greatest gifts you can get. And so you're going to find out exactly what your personality is and how you show up naturally. What I mean by that is without any mitigating circumstances, without any crisis, who are you naturally and how do you naturally respond? That is very important when you're choosing your career. It's going to look and see, what are you good at? Because why do a job that you don't have the natural strength and ability to do? So the career assessment is going to reveal your strengths. It's also going to reveal the things that you like. And then the other piece is the value. So it's going to reveal all of that, but all of it is about you, which is the gift of self-awareness. And once you have that, that's something, one, that no one can take away from you, and you have it for life. And you now have power to choose and evaluate different careers against those four things and know exactly this is what I can do and what I can't do. And that's just great information to have. And that is the way that you choose what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
We may have some younger listeners here, maybe in college, or maybe transitioning to the end, or maybe looking for a job, and they're hearing this and they're saying, okay, this sounds good, it sounds nice, but you don't understand. In my family, everybody's a doctor. In my family, everybody's a lawyer or an engineer. In my family, everybody's a pastor or a teacher. This is kind of what we do, and I don't feel comfortable with maybe taking an assessment that indicates that I have an interest in a different area. What not just having the right fit, but what's the challenge of picking a career for the wrong reasons?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I talked about those faulty foundations, and that's certainly one of them, that a lot of people are picking careers based on what is in their pedigree or what their parents say and all of that. And the downside to that is that if it doesn't fit you, meaning you don't have the personality, the skills, the interests, or it doesn't line up, you're not going to be able to do the job well. Now, you may do the work and receive a paycheck, but inside you're not going to be the best version of you, which means that you can't excel. And so again, it starts to eat away at that confidence. And that is the cost you pay for being in a job that's not the right fit. You don't enjoy going to work. You have no ambition. You have no energy. It drains you. And again, one of the things about the career assessment is that it is a tool for you to understand who you are. Now, what you choose to do with that information is always a choice. But wouldn't it be great to know exactly who you are? And maybe there's many a times, Pierre, that people find out who they are. And maybe, let's say they were a particular type of doctor or in certain area of medicine. Mm-hmm. And it may not mean they shouldn't be a doctor, but maybe instead of you being an anesthesiologist, maybe you should be a family practice doctor. Because, think about an anesthesiologist, a lot of their patients, there's not a lot of patient talking interaction because your job is to put them to sleep. Mm-hmm. And I put it in very simple terms. But a family practice doctor is going to have much more interaction. So let's say you're an individual that really is an extrovert and needs that social interaction. So medicine may not be the wrong fit for you, but it could be the wrong discipline of medicine. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, if that makes sense.
So say a person comes to your signs up for one of your consulting packages, or is having a conversation with you, and they're kind of brainstorming around career change. They say, okay, I'm ready. I have the reasons of why I don't like my job. I've gone through my personality, skills, interests, and values. I've taken the assessment, and I see now that this particular discipline, this particular area, or maybe even this company may be a better fit for me. What does beginning to transition look like at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, we talked about those transferable skills. We're going to take a look at, again, if you've already been in the workforce, what things and experiences have you already had? So what can we transfer over? Two, there's a bit of a rebranding that may have to happen through your resume in terms of you've been doing a certain thing for a particular amount of time, and now you want to transition. So there's a rebranding effort. Also, there's a networking element to that, is making sure that you're networked and connected to the people in the new field that you want to be in. There's some mentorship that's probably needed again. And I think this is at any point in your career, you need to have mentors that are in your current job or in the job that you want to go to get information. I also suggest for some people to do informational interviews. So let's say you've been a nurse and now you decide you want to be an accountant. Well, I'm going to suggest that you go and talk and interview and be on the job with a couple of accountants to really understand a day in the life of. So there's still some more research to kind of be done with that. And then the other piece is, again, having a plan to transition.
Now, from what I'm hearing you saying, you're talking about the work element involved in career transitions. Now, there are some people who maybe are asking, well, why can't I just get one of those Word template resumes that are online and kind of throw my information in and, just throw it out on like a Indeed or something like that? Why do I have to go through all of this work and strategy to try to find the space that I'm supposed to be in?
Yeah, great question. And so when you've already, and I'll address the people that have already been in the workforce and you're changing careers, 80% of the jobs are not posted once you get to a certain level. So it's through networking. So that's number one. Number two, putting together your resume. Your resume is you on paper. It's your brand. And so you have to think about, someone is going to make a decision about you based on a couple of sheets of paper. And so if you put that together in a haphazard way, then your story is not really being communicated the right way. They have nothing to go on, especially if you're changing careers. So how do you prove, quote unquote, that you can do the new thing that you're applying for when you've been doing X, Y, and Z for the last 10 or 15 years? So that's why it's important that you have to pay attention to those kinds of things, especially if you're making a career transition.
I don't know, folks, if you paid attention to what Barbara just said, but at a certain level, jobs are just not posted.
That's right.
And you need those relationships. Now, what's it like? Say I'm just entering the workforce and you're the HR manager, the HR director, and I come in, my resume is polished. I look the part. As we're talking and as you're going over my resume, what are some of the things that you're looking for?
Yes. So if you have the resume is polished and you're looking the part, I'm looking to see if you understand what the company does that you're applying for. So do you understand our business and how we make money? So I want to know that you spent some time researching that and you understand it. Second, I'm looking to hear what value are you going to bring to the organization? So not just what can we do for you, but what do you feel like you can do for us? And what value are you going to provide, or what pain point are you going to alleviate? Three, I'm going to want to know, okay, what are your career plans? So you get this position. What is your long-term or career desires or goals? And do they match up? And then lastly, I'm looking to test to see if you're going to fit our culture, which a lot of people miss the part about culture. And that's a huge piece to any job on both sides, the employer and the employee.
We've talked about workplace culture a couple of times on this podcast. From your perspective and from your experience, kind of define culture for us. And if I'm trying to learn a new culture, what are some of the things that I need to do?
Yes. So culture simply, and my definition is the way things get done at any company. That's a very simple way to look at it. So how you understand the culture wherever you are is that, one, you do a lot of observing, a lot of listening and asking questions. So watch and see, how do people interact in meetings? How do they get communication out? Is it through email? Is it through a lot of stand-up meetings? Is it hierarchical? So do you have to follow the chain of command? Look at how people dress. Look and see if people are more relaxed or is it more rigid? So you watch, listen, and observe and see how things operate in the company and how things get done and what's rewarded and appreciated. That's a very simple way to do it.
Now, what if an individual, they interview goes well and they realize, man, I'm not a fit for the culture. Is I think there's maybe a tendency for people to feel bad about themselves because they don't fit. What's the necessity of finding a place that actually fits you?
That it is imperative that you find a place that fits you, because ultimately, again, you won't be happy. And so, no one should ever feel bad if they arrive at a place and like, you know what, this is not the right fit for me. That is completely okay. And that's exactly what you should be interviewing. When they're interviewing you, you're also interviewing them. And so definitely don't ever feel bad about that. And it's important to find a place that fits you, one, to help with your job satisfaction, two, help with your natural ability to get things done. So again, if you're more of a free thinker or you're more of a collaborator and you're interviewing with a company where it's very strict and procedural and it's very isolated, people work in silos, then you're going to have to change and adapt your natural personality in order to fit into that culture. And can you do it? Yeah, you probably can, but not for the long haul.
I'll say I came in entry-level position in your company, and I have my eye or an inclination toward a leadership position in this particular company. What are some of the ways that I can begin to position myself for consideration, or what are some do's and don'ts as it relates to climbing maybe the corporate ladder or growing in an organization?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I always tell people that are interested in leadership is to first foundationally do a really good job at the job they hired you for. So make sure that you are competent and exceeding in the job that you have before you even begin to look at doing something different. The next thing I would say is make sure that you're able to communicate your value tied to the business results. So can you clearly demonstrate so people see, and can you articulate verbally, this is how I provide value to the company? So that means you have to be really aware of what the business goals are and objectives, and everything that you do is tied to those business results. Some people do a lot of great work, but it's not related to the business. And in order for you to be viewed as leadership material, your work and your results have to be tied to business results. So that's another do. A don't is making sure that you don't try to assume the role before you get it. Now, there's a caveat to that, because you definitely want to be seen as a resource and already operating at a different level. But there is a fine line between acting like you're the leader when you're already not with your peers. You always want to be open to feedback. So feedback is a great avenue when you're looking to be in leadership or just in your career in general. And having those mentors that I talked about before are also some good things to do when you're looking to be in leadership. At the end of the day, you should really be in a very humble state of mind, looking to learn. Look at the leadership styles that you like and appreciate, and ask questions and learn from them, and then do the best work that you can in the job that you're doing, and be able to show how your results are tied to the business results.
Now we're most likely talking to some individuals who, this is graduation season, summer graduation season. They just graduated, and everybody doesn't have a job offer, and we're out there kind of scrounging around, trying to network, trying to meet people. Resumes are everywhere, but then you finally get a job. What are some of the mistakes that those individuals who just fresh out of college, and maybe in college they were great and top of the class, honors, extracurricular activities, club president, all of that stuff, all of this great stuff. What are some of the hiccups that individuals like that make when they enter the workforce?
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about before is I've seen mistakes where people don't understand or take the time to understand the company culture and how things get done. And so they come in and kind of just rock on as if they're in college school and not really attuned to what's going on around them from a culture perspective. I've also seen where a lot of individuals are not taking the time to build those relationships and establish a network early. And so I usually see two different camps: people that are recent graduates, either they're head down and they're doing their work and they're not concerned with going to lunch with their peer or going to the the after dinner or after work, dinner or whatever, because they're so focused on head. They come in and do their job and they go home. So that's one camp that I see. And so they're not taking time to build those relationships. The other camp of individuals that I see are people that are the complete opposite. They still haven't quite transitioned to that. This is a workforce. And so they're approaching it in a very relaxed way. And a lot of times the culture they're in is not relaxed. Also, they're not attuned to the business etiquette. So how to act or operate in a meeting, how to ask your boss, whether it's time off or how to go to them with a problem that you're experiencing, just those basic core things. And again, that they don't really teach you in college. So they're not at fault for not knowing, but those are some of the simple things foundationally in your first years of your career that you kind of have to master and kind of know how to navigate.
Okay. So if I'm at a loss coming out of school on some of these foundational workplace etiquette and culture things, what's the best way to learn? Shadow? Is it okay to ask? Tag along, ask people for coffee? Like, how do I get this secret hidden knowledge of work life that I'm supposed to know as an emerging professional?
Yes. So again, goes back to those career mentors. I think it's good to have a career mentor. But let's say that you're fresh out of college and this is your first 6 months on the job. You want to do a lot of listening and a lot of observing. So find out who are the influential people in your work group, who are the people that have been there for a while. And again, yes, it is okay to ask, hey, would you like to go to lunch? Or, hey, let's go for coffee downstairs, or whatever your work environment is. But again, you'll watch and see what other people do and then try one of the things that they've already done. Find a couple of safe people that you feel like that you can ask questions about. Hey, how was it when you first started working here? Or what are some advice things that you have? I would also say tap into your company's HR departments. They probably have some onboarding material or some trainings or just advice or suggestions for new people coming in. A lot of companies now have these new employee network groups that are popping up all over. So again, once you build in those relationships, you'll find out about that, get plugged in, but buddy up with someone who also is new. So those are some of the ways that I would do it in the beginning.
I know working in this field of HR and a corporate level for a number of years, you've had the experience of telling somebody that you're no longer a good fit for the company. How have you handled difficult conversations like that in your career?
Now that you're hitting something real tough, because even in 20 years, you don't get immune to it. Those are some of the toughest conversations. I just got to be honest with you. I don't know that I've dealt with it. I've dealt with the best way that I can. I still get that funny feeling in my stomach. I still get sick before it happens. But at the end of the day, I can feel good and sleep at night because I feel like I'm doing the right thing. So I try to handle it with respect and care because they are still an individual. I've had situations where people were not the right fit from a performance standpoint, so I've had to let them go. I've also had people that were great employees that I've had to let go, but the company itself wasn't doing well. So those are tougher than the performance ones, because the performance ones, I can rationalize and reason that technically they have put themselves in a situation where they have not performed. So those are a bit easier. But the ones where it's a good employee and the company itself is not doing well or has decided to go a different direction, those are really, really tough. And so, again, treat the person with respect and care. Be upfront and honest as soon as you can. Be transparent. And I try to encourage them that this is not the end of the road just because this position at this company has now ended.
There are a lot of aspiring professionals who look at leadership positions and maybe they look at the salary or they look at the office or maybe some of the perks. But there's a part of leadership, as you just mentioned, that necessitates having difficult conversations. How do you, if I'm just starting in my career, how do I develop that resolve? Not just maybe in a hiring or firing scenario, but if something is going wrong in the company or a process is not working out accordingly, How do I develop the resolve to speak up without being either disrespectful or offensive or even putting my job in jeopardy?
Right. So for me, I always go back to my moral compass. That's what I have done, because at the end of the day, I have to be okay with me and be able to sleep at night. And so I've never been shy about speaking up. Now, I think it is wise to make sure that you speak up the right way with respect, know your information and know your facts, and do it the right way. And I think if you do it the right way and I mean the right audience at the right time, there's some things that should be said in private to one individual. There's some things that should be said to the group, but having the knowledge of knowing when to do that and how to do that is key. And once you do that and you feel like you've done what you are supposed to do and you have your facts and you've spoken up, then you let the chips kind of fall where they may. And you mentioned a good word. It takes a lot of resolve to be a leader. You have to be confident in your ability. You have to be confident in that you're doing the right thing. And again, a lot of that comes from, again, I go back to, you have to know the business that you're in so that you can be a credible source, so that you're speaking factual. And then people, when they hear you speak, and if there's a situation to where it is a tough situation, people are going to first look at who you are as a person and your character. And you want them to know that you're coming from a good place. So I think those are some of the things that has helped me, or that's how I've tried to approach it.
What are some of the things that you may miss about the corporate kind of day-to-day regimented aspect of being an HR leader? And what are some things that you completely wholeheartedly embrace and bask in as this entrepreneur with your own business, your own practice?
Yeah, well, I'm actually still still have a foot in the corporate world, so I'm not completely away. But let me definitely tell you about some things that I'm enjoying on this entrepreneur journey. I like that it's new and that I get a chance to build it. So that really speaks to who I am, because it can be whatever I want it to be. I like the fact that I'm developing my own impact, because in my corporate job, after you get to a certain level, your impact is definitely greater. But I don't have a lot of face-to-face time with the employees in the field. I spend a lot of my time with executives. And so that's good. But what I really enjoy is getting down with new leaders or new employees. And so with my business, I'm able to do that. And so I can choose the impact that I want to have and the people that I want to impact. And so I really, really enjoy that piece. And I feel like I'm create my legacy at the second half of my career. And when it's all said and done, I want to be able to say that I helped people in this way. And even though I've helped people in my corporate career, sometimes it's far removed because of the position that I've been in.
This is great stuff you've been sharing with us. Now, how can we find you on social media, website for your company? How can we stay connected to you? You got resources, you got coaching packages, just shameless plug. Just tell us everything.
I will do it. So one of the things is I do have a private Facebook community group that's called Career Captains. So that's for individuals who are looking to take the next step in their career, whether it's growth, whether it's leadership, whether it's I'm in the wrong career, Barbara, I need help, whatever it is. And so you can follow me there at bit.ly/HR Insider. I'm also on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Career Pathways Consulting. And the website is careerpathwaysconsulting.com. So those are all the avenues where you can find me, look me up, and we can stay connected.
We will make sure to put all of this information in the show notes. I'm sure people have questions about job search, about career transitions, about getting their resume together, or even this career assessment that you were talking about. I know that piqued several individuals' interest. So I want to make sure they can get in contact with you. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You are a wealth of information. Your experience shows, and I know our audience is better for us having this conversation.
Thank you so much. It was glad to be here.
Great conversation with Barbara Mason from Career Pathways Consulting. Now, we want to make sure you get access to all the tools that Barbara mentioned. So we'll put her information in the show notes so that you can reach out to her and maybe connect with her on some advice on transitioning in your career or climbing the ladder of the organization. Or maybe you just need a career assessment to figure out if you're in the right space. Hey, that's all I got for this episode of the Leading While Green podcast. I know you're going to hop over to iTunes and leave a review. I know you're going to share it on social. I know you're going to text somebody and let them know about this leadership journey we're on. I know you're going to do it. So until next time, take care and God bless.